First on the agenda is 425 Bedford Street. Meet with Zenith Consulting Engineers to discuss requested local upgrade approvals.
Good evening, Tom Morris with Zenith Consulting Engineers. So this is an upgrade of an existing failed system. There was a question about the number of bedrooms. It's designed on 2. There was a question on whether it was 3. But looking back at some old notes that Larry Perry had put together, he did a walkthrough and said it was okay to be 2 bedrooms. There was a 3rd room that could be maybe considered a bedroom, but it didn't have privacy. So he said it wasn't a 3rd bedroom. So here we are proposing a microfast system to reduce the groundwater separation from 5 to 3 feet. Doing that to reduce the mound in the backyard. If we had done the 5-foot separation here, it would have either required a wall or it would have graded right out to the property line on all 3 sides. Excuse me, all 3 sides. So we thought that was a good choice to bring that down, limit the work. There's 3 upgrade approvals that we're requesting: the setback from the tank to the house and the system to the garage. Oh, that's 16 feet. I thought we were. Oh, it's just the 2 tanks, both tanks to the foundation. And then the reduction from the pipes in and out of the tank, less than 12 inches from the groundwater. That's basically it.
Yeah, there's nothing jumping out at me other than maybe, page 20. I don't know if we want to do that, but.
Yeah, that was my question. I did talk to Niles on this. I don't know if he updated you when I talked to Ed on it. With the tank.
Steam out of the water?
No, it's monolithic, but your buoyancy calcs are for H20, and you say internal mount. Note 7 over here says to use an H20, but this tank you're speccing up here is an H10 with a top mount says external mount. All external mounts are H10.
Right.
They don't make them H20.
Yeah, so for what I understand, they recheck the buoyancy calcs for the H10 tank. Okay. And it works as long as there's the 18 inches of cover on top, okay. Which is what we're proposing.
And they did send us calculations with 18 inches of cover and to our office. I think it was this morning, and it worked.
Okay, so we have that.
Yeah, they just sent it over.
With the H10. So you're gonna stay with the H10 tank?
Yes, the external mount, yep.
Okay. We're gonna be okay with this plan with these notes here and here? You wanna just make a note on it, or just because it's very confusing for me?
Yeah, I'll make sure it's up to you guys. You can have it changed, or I can redline it and make sure the installer gets a redline version.
Well, let's just approve it subject to the changes, and he can bring another set of.
Right, then the as-built could even.
So they're clean
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, for the installer,
exactly. For the installer too, right?
Yeah, the installer picks it up.
They pick up this plan, it says, I don't want to put it in
that's what I mean.
20 and then you...
For very minor changes, sometimes I redline it, the installer's copy, or I redline all of them. But that way, when they come, it actually shows a red line on it. I don't do it often, but like I said, for bigger changes, it's better to change the whole plan, So
yeah, either way is fine. You could redline it, or we could give you a fresh copy saying H10.
It's up to you guys.
Changing that note on number 7 and changing this to an H10.
Right.
External mount, so they all match.
Yep.
Okay. And does this one need a deed restriction? Is it the 2-bedroom?
Yeah, it's on the plan, yeah. It's calling for it.
That was only my comments. I didn't, as long as that buoyancy worked, to the monolithic rubber booties. I don't see much else you can really do in the small.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Anybody?
Oh yeah, anyone else to speak to this? We do have a room full of people tonight.
We're not used to people being here to ask questions.
Okay, there's no one else wants to speak, so.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 3 variances for 425 Bedford Street, subject to them giving us a new plan and changing on 2 places it from H20 tanks to H10 tanks, external mount.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next on the agenda is 3 Apple House Road, meet with Zenith Consulting Engineers to discuss requested local upgrade approvals.
Okay, so this one, there was again a question on the number of bedrooms on the existing house. The original design for the septic was for a 3-bedroom house. So we had assumed it was 3-bedroom and originally designed it as 3 bedrooms. Then we heard that it is a 4-bedroom house, always has been. We confirmed from the original building plan that the house was permitted to be 4 bedrooms. It's always been that way. So I'm not sure why the design was for 3 bedrooms, but it has always been a 4-bedroom. So we've designed for the 4 bedrooms as a repair with a Presby system. We have 2 upgrade requests. One is for the number of depots from 2 to 1, and one is the setback between the foundation and the septic.
Yeah, I didn't have anything on this.
Did you go out and check the bedrooms, or?
I didn't, but I mean, I think it's pretty clear it is 4. Like I said, I don't think anyone's disputing the number. Everyone knows it's 4.
Yeah, there was just some confusion because of that
Yeah.
design plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe this is the original system from 70, 73?
Yeah,
There's
73.
never been, there's nothing else in our folder.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did confirm with the building department, it was 8 rooms when it was built.
I'm just checking.
On that one.
On the original system, it never failed. I've never had problems. That's not bad.
And obviously this one has to go through Concom?
Correct.
Has it already?
I'm not sure.
Sure on that one. Okay.
Not sure if it's already gone.
On this one, I didn't see, it's standard H10 tank with a Presby high and low vent. They're not going back through the house. And there's really nowhere else to put it on this lot. It's right in the old system.
Right.
Bob, you have anything?
No, they go one way or the other, it doesn't help, so I'm fine with it.
Ed?
I'm good.
Good. Anybody else want to speak to this? I see no one. I'm good.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2 local upgrades for 3 Apple House Road. Do we have to make it subject to Concom? No, right? That's on them.
No, but that knows too, but just so everyone's aware. Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is 19 Shore Ave, meet with Dean's Point Survey to discuss waiver for well permit. How's it going?
I'm Bob Lucy, Dean's Point Survey, and the Flynns, who are looking to relocate their existing well. There was some question, I don't know if you remember back in the winter, we worked on the lot adjacent, number 17, and they proposed to put in a tight tank, which you approved. They've yet to do it. The septic system that's shown on the plan was by Mr. Divernez. idea of where the system was, so we weren't exactly sure the precise location. So spoke to Ed, and we staked out the perimeter off of the proposed well, dug a test pit. We didn't find anything there. So we're showing it as greater than 100 feet to that leaching field. The other leaching field that's shown at 100 feet, that's shown off the as-built of that system. So that's about it.
It's not ideal, but I don't see anything really.
What's wrong with the old well? Dry, or is it a point?
I'm sorry?
The old well, the existing
The
well?
old well is a 2-inch,
Point.
yeah, it's a shallow well.
I think, Ed, you did, witness the well, you, okay, yeah, pictures, so.
Right.
It was here.
And your notes said that they were tied into the water previously, right? Now they want to get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, the Board of Health actually approved a new well, and they had it, a while back, and then they've been using the well for a while, but for whatever reason, they switched to Clock Shores water. I'm
But
not,
it's seasonal. There's no year round.
yeah. And then, and now they want to go back, but that well is not acceptable. And you could try to get it going, but it makes a lot more sense to drill a new well, because like I said, it's probably shallow. It's very old. It's been not used for a long time. So, if you're going to redo it, do a new one. And it's a lot closer to the septic systems as well. So by putting in a new one, you get to get your 100 feet away from the neighbors.
So they went from year round to seasonal. I don't want to go back to year round again, pretty much. What it seems like.
Yeah, this well, but like I said, they did actually have a permit for this well in that folder.
Yeah, no,
So
it's
a
well
legitimate
documented
well.
in the folder.
Right,
that
it's not
the board
single.
approved it, and, you know.
How old is it?
The well,
The permit, the new permit for the one they want?
for the one they won, or for the last permit issued was 1980, and that was for this one.
Okay.
I think they had even a previous well, and then they drilled this one in 1980, and I'm not sure, do you know when they abandoned this, the old one?
I really don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a record of them abandoning it and hooking into Clock Shores water, but they'd been using the one on the plan there since 1980.
And also Ed and I did look at the map of Clark Shores, where the water was located. And it's nowhere near this one. It's way up, it's on like 100 feet or 200 feet.
Did I misunderstand? I thought, didn't they just say it was hooked into it now?
Seasonal line.
Oh.
It's in the seasonal line. If it was year round,
so yeah.
I would be with you. It wouldn't be a discussion.
Yeah, okay.
Wouldn't let them drill a well if there was year round water there. But it's, and I don't know of any plans of getting this water down there. I don't think there's anybody aware of.
You guys have any idea when it's gonna head down, yeah, Shore Ave?
Years ago. Yeah, 2019. Sorry.
I laugh because I know I've seen the messages.
Wind help,
Go ahead. You guys got questions?
Just, how is it different than someone putting in a new well?
Oh, yeah, can you guys just step up to the microphones?
Sorry, I know.
The cable guy's yelling at us. He thinks she runs the show here.
Dawn Collins from Clark Shores. I'm just wondering how it's different than putting someone that wants to put in a new well that's on the water and wants to get off the water.
They would have to have a prior well.
Even if it was abandoned? So if I abandoned a well, went on the water, I can now drill a new well?
I don't know, was this technically abandoned in our folder? I mean, this wasn't,
Yeah.
No, we have no record of it.
We have no record of it abandoned.
so I don't know what they mean by
So-
abandoned.
When, for whatever reason, they stopped using it, we don't know when and we don't know why. And they chose to hook into Clock Shores water, and they didn't notify us when they did that. But I guess to your question, they don't issue a lot of new permits for wells, within 100 feet. That's the thing, because you, by right, you can put in a well, if you have the 100 feet, if you have the appropriate lot size and everything. But like I said, because there's been a number of new wells drilled in those 4 new houses that built right around Evergreen. Those all had new wells, and they were by right. So if we don't have the right to deny them, because our regulations say that they, you're meeting all of the state requirements of being 100 feet away and things like that. So if we deny them, they would sue us, basically, and then we would have to approve them once they sue us. So
the only way that it would be denied is if they were too close?
Yeah, they're not in compliance, and especially with this one, they were approved before. And like I said, because they put in tight tanks, that's the big reason on this one. Because most of the other ones where you have fields everywhere, you just can't get the 100 feet. But with a tight tank, you only have to be 50 feet away. That's the big advantage. And so they do comply.
So they opted for a tight tank and no leaching field on this property. So they have 100 feet. So they're here tonight for a variance just to the property line, because you're supposed to be 10 feet.
Correct.
And they're asking for 4.5, and it's to the property line, actually to the pond. Because they want to get as far away from the septic tank and the 2 other septics.
Like I said, not ideal, but it does wiggle into all those little things and it happens once in a while.
I know where you guys are coming from. You don't want people disconnecting from it, but because it was a legal well and they permitted it to us, we like you said, we have to let them replace it unless the water was there or coming soon. And then I would have done the same thing we did the last time. I would have told them they had a hookup, but we can't condemn the house now because they can't get the water down there. If it was, I don't know how far, but when Derek says it's far, it must have been really far away. So.
In the other situation too.
Come on up, Matt.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be condemning it, you would be keeping it as a seasonal house.
But it had a well, so it was legally a year round, so it's never been seasonal.
Was the last time that it was permitted for a well?
The well was permitted in 1980. I don't know when they stopped using it.
So is it the current owners now that are still there, or was it sold?
I don't know, but
Really wouldn't matter. Really.
I know you guys.
We don't have record of when it stopped.
You guys have your concerns, but if some house here in the middle of town that's not on the water or any of these issues, if they start going to Florida every winter, or they just move out and nobody goes in the house for years, they still got the right to if their wells fail, they get a right to put a new one back in.
Right,
again.
my question would only be if they weren't using the well for a certain period of time and they were using it seasonal, like where were they getting the water if it was a year round? That was, like if they've been hooked up to seasonal for 10 years and haven't used the well, what was the source of water on the?
Oh, we don't even know if they were there year round. I mean, the address, the owner's
address is in Florida. Palm Beach Gardens, Florida is, who is that?
But you're saying,
The applicant.
Okay, it's deeded year round, right?
Like the house across the street, there's water hooking this police station in.
Right.
And if the house across the street chooses to have a well, they have that right.
Right.
If they decide to get rid of that and hook into the main, that's great. But then 5 years from now, if they want to go back and drill a new well, they'll be able to do it, providing they're 100 feet away. We can't just say, no, you can't have wells. We just allow people, if you're going to put a well in, you have to meet these criteria so it's safe. But we don't have the authority to say,
Right.
okay, no one can have a well.
I understand all that. One of my concerns would be, there's a house, within throwing distance that requested a well last year, and they almost have 20,000 square feet of a lot, but they were just shy of it and were denied. They have a brand new Title V system, brand new septic, everything, but they were just shy land-wise. But it's a much, much larger lot than this one. They were told that they cannot use the house year-round. It has to remain seasonal because they couldn't put a well in. And unfortunately, something like this is going to cause an issue in the neighborhood where, that house next door gets to do it and they have a little tiny lot, but this guy wasn't allowed to do it, and he's got a much larger.
But if he had a well,
But he had a well,
he would have been grandfathered and it would be pre-existing non-conforming.
Just like there's people right now with an empty lot who cannot build, but you have a house and you have it. So even though you have the same size lots, you have a house there and he doesn't.
Right.
So you can rebuild, you can tear down your house and rebuild it, but he can't do anything.
Yeah, there's protections for certain things, and
Yeah,
it's
so
like if that lot had a well, then you can replace it, but it
So
never had a
theoretically,
well.
if this person was to search his lot and find that at one point, somewhere, sometime, there used to be a well, he could.
It would have to be in our folder.
Yeah, he can't just go dig one and come in tomorrow and say, I found it.
Right.
But this one was all legal and permitted properly.
That has happened.
There's plenty of
Yeah.
documentation
Yeah,
that.
and
they went through the
we've
Board of
caught that
Health.
before, but this one's actually was all permitted and done legally when they put it in back then, so.
We actually had him dig up the well, and he went out and found this well with pictures, so it's still there.
It's not in good shape, but it's.
But it's there.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Because it had
Thank
one.
you.
So, and they didn't, from the pictures I'm guessing, it wasn't even a proper abandonment, right? It wasn't cap filled, any of that?
They never
Yeah,
asked
so it wasn't
for
even like, they just stopped using it realistically. It really wasn't like an abandoned, they just stopped using it, pretty much. But, it's weird, but, whatever. Guys got anything else?
No.
Yeah, with this one, I don't,
Nothing else to say? All right.
And you can do this one, I already told him my plan.
any other comments?
All right, you guys all set?
Just one.
You guys step up, man.
He mentioned the tight tanks aren't put in yet, right?
That's the abutting lot.
The abutting
The
one.
budding lot, oh, okay. Well, I thought they were saying they had tight tanks.
The one,
They
the
weren't,
This-
they are installed already.
This lot
owner,
has
the
a
one,
tight
the
tank.
house that the well's gonna go on has a tight tank.
Okay.
So the abutter doesn't, but it's still 100 feet away.
I confused
like
the two,
existing.
that's all.
No problem.
Take your seat.
So
No,
numbers,
ask questions.
It's easier
I'll tell
when we
you.
have plans in front of us.
so number 19 does have the tight tank installed, which they're the ones asking for the well.
Yeah.
The abutter 17, Shore Ave, has a permit to put in a tight tank and abandon their system, and they just have not done that yet.
Yeah, but they, even if
They
they
are further
don't,
away.
that field is still 100 feet away.
So we're not hurting that house from putting in a field if they so choose to. That was one of my comments when I was looking into it. We don't want to give somebody a well permit to, and then have your neighbor not be able to put a septic in. You can't have that.
You can run this one. I folded up my plan already.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the well permit for 19 Shore Avenue
I'll second that.
with a 1 variance to 4.5 feet to the property line.
I'll second that too.
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Bob. All right, next on the agenda is Joe and Chloe Gas Incorporated, doing business as Joe Gas, new owners, 33 Bedford Street, a tobacco permit, food establishment license, and a milk and cream license. Is the paperwork all in order?
Yeah, so, I mean, everyone knows Joe's Gas, it's the same business, they just change ownership.
All inspections are done and we're good to go?
Yeah, the inspection was done the other day, they have all their paperwork in, and, yeah.
You guys got any questions?
They also, just for the record, they did install a new system, septic system there that was failed.
Yeah.
And they even put a grease trap inside.
Yeah, correct.
Was that
And they
the
filled
plan
in-
we approved like a while back?
No, there was no waivers, I approved it,
Oh, okay.
probably 3 months ago. You know, there was
When
no.
did the new sign go up? This was like 5-6 years ago? I don't know.
It's changed a couple of times.
And there was an old well on the property that was filled in as part of the septic repair and the grease trap. And I think everything's been done and signed off and witnessed
Cool.
everything.
Yeah.
So all inspections are done.
I'm good with it.
Anybody want to speak on this?
Anybody want to speak to this? I see no one.
I'll make a motion, we approve the tobacco permit, food establishment license, and milk and cream license for Joe and, what's that?
Chloe.
Chloe's Gas Inc., doing business as Joe's Gas.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda is Pramak Suva Corporation doing business as Jay's Smoke Shop, new owners, located at 330 Bedford Street, a tobacco permit. And I believe there was something on this?
Yeah, so they told us they would have everything ready, but they don't. They're not set up, they don't have all the paperwork, so I would recommend that you just, continue this until they have it
For the
ready.
next meeting, or you think they'll have it or not then?
Actually, no, I don't even think they'll have it for the next meeting.
Oh, would have to continue it. Do they have any butters or anybody they got to notify or no? Do you want to continue?
Yeah, there's no abutter notification,
And the paperwork's not finished. Do we have to continue? It could just come back up whenever it needs to come up.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just, yeah, we don't have to continue it.
Okay.
We'll just say at this point, we won't approve it.
It's not a complete application, so.
Yeah.
So should we vote not to approve it or do what do we
Yeah,
do?
I'll make a motion, we deny the Jay's Smoke Shop permit until their paperwork is completed.
Second?
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda is approved meeting minutes for May 3rd, 2023 and May 17th, 2023.
All three members were present.
I printed that too.
I'm fine. We had this on our last meeting.
Yeah. I'm good if you guys are good.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the May 3rd, 2023 meeting minutes as typed.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
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 The next meeting is May 27th. All three were present. I had already read through this last meeting. We continued it. Bob?
Yeah, I'm good with them.
I'm good too.
Make a motion to approve the May 17th, 2023 meeting minutes as typed.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda is discuss open space residential development bylaw with the town planner. Mr. Resnick.
Hello, everybody. I emailed, board and Ed a, revised draft of the last plan. After the comments from Ed, I made an additional revision, which I'll pass out to you.
I already gave him a copy.
This one?
I edited it a little bit more.
Okay.
Just for clarity purposes. So, since when I was here last year, when we were discussing the OSRD bylaw, the Board of Health's primary concern had to do with having a well and a septic together on the same lot, because unless you're absolutely precise about the locations of well and septics on each lot, that they could move and then impact the suitability for development of the next lot. Perhaps if the entire subdivision was built by the same builder / developer, that wouldn't be a problem, but if lots were being sold off and different people are building on each individual lot, that could be a major problem. So the primary revision to address that is that it requires that all of the OSIDs either have connected to municipal water, which in our case would be town water, or would have a public water supply. Or they would have a wastewater treatment plant, or they would have a shared septic system. So that, by doing that, they would only have one of a type of system on each parcel, which would either be a private septic or a private well. And so that requirement Oh, yeah, that's early on. That requirement is at the bottom of the first page, number 2, says development shall be served by at least one of the following types of utilities: a municipal water supply, a privately owned public water supply, a wastewater treatment plant, or a shared septic system. Approval for the desired system shall be obtained from the licensing/permitting authority prior to the issuance of the OSRD special permit. So, and then in addition to, we've excluded the land, the additional buffer land or the zone 1 of a water supply from the calculation. So it just gets totally removed from the minimum, from the calculations on the OSRD. So it would not be either open space or developed land. It would be, if you need 20 acres to do an OSRD, they perhaps need 20 and a half or 21 acres.
I had one question on zone 1 to Ed, of the wastewater treatment plant to a public well. It says 100-foot buffer. Doesn't it go by the yield of the gallons on a public well?
For zone 1, no.
So it could be more than 100.
Oh yeah, 100 is a bare minimum.
Yeah, just so you're aware of that. That's.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
that.
not, it could go up to 400. I mean, it could be,
Yeah.
And most of them are, yeah.
most of them are.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, if you're doing something for like a 20 or 30 unit thing, you're gonna have a big radius. The bare minimum, like you said, is 100.
That's on a residential 3-bedroom
That's
house.
for like a 300 gallon per day.
Right, so there's gonna be a big buffer around a
So
public well.
here it says the land required for zone 1 of a public water supply. So that doesn't specify a distance. But what it does is, I thought Ed had explained that around the shared septic system, there is an additional required 100-foot buffer around the shared system. And that's why I wrote that.
There is?
I don't know, I thought, no. Is there any?
Is there a buffer around a septic system?
Yeah, around a shared system. Is there something that's required?
No, just gotta meet the setback.
Yeah, it's gonna, if there are wells in the area, then yeah, but you go by the radius of the well, not by the septic system. I did comment on that larger shared systems should have, technically you can put a septic system 101 feet off a well. My comment was, if you're putting a shared system, I would put more than 101, because like I said, you could have 20 houses on that one system. So you would have a huge amount of nitrates,
right,
far greater than anything from a single family house. So although there is not something in Title V that says that, we need to take that into consideration when locating these shared systems.
So they don't have like a scalable, depending on the gallonage you need.
Well, they have the 440 gallon per day per acre.
Right, but I mean, as far as the setback from a shared system.
No, there's
no, like, if it's so many gallons, it needs to be increased to.
No, and I mean, I think they usually leave a lot of extra space too, reserve area wise, because most of these end up being repaired at some point, especially, I mean, history of condo complex type ones, I know they fail constantly because of what people are dumping down them.
But I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but 20 acres, you may be gonna get, that's the minimum size. So the smallest one you could have would be like 8 houses that you could use this for. Right, 8 houses is gonna require 400 feet, right? Probably.
For zone 1?
Yeah, around the well, I mean.
Yeah.
One well for 8 houses.
Yeah, so the smallest, you're never gonna have 100, because the smallest you can do is 20 acres, and you're gonna have 400 feet around the well. So that's gonna knock out a good hunk of the, that's gonna knock out half of it.
Okay, I'll adjust that language, but as far as it relates to the zone 1, but as far as, I don't have any language in here about the reserve area being identified and being,
well, that's Title V though.
Right.
Any,
Yes,
anything given here.
but I think it ought to be mentioned in here.
Okay.
And then, but as far as there's no required buffer around the shared system, but is there a recommended, like,
Is a
Lakeville
concern.
Board of Health
You know,
buffer
I
that you
think we
feel
would be-
we ought to put in, though? I mean, as a minimum,
It's
you know, we're
kind
writing
of
this,
case by
so.
case.
That's
you
what
know.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You don't know what, how big the system, I mean, is it gonna be a 9,000 gallon a day system? Is it 4? Is it
Okay.
2?
Yeah, like I said,
I
is
mean,
it eight houses or 80 houses? It's got a huge difference, you know, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, how do
think.
you word, like,
Yeah,
attention should be paid to make sure there's enough space for reserve and adequate space to wells on the site. Like, I don't know, how do you word that? Where it makes sense for a regulation.
But on a shared system anyway, though, right? I mean, it's not a condo, so all the people don't own the land. So whatever lot that they put this on, they're gonna go way over nitrogen load, right? Yeah. Yeah, I had,
Yeah.
you guys got questions or can I say stuff?
I'm good for now. Like,
yeah, I think it's just
Mike.
one line by line.
One thing, my biggest concern was is that I wanted every lot to be proved because I don't want somebody getting credit for land that wouldn't be buildable anyway. So if it's ledge or if it's wetlands or whatever it is, and you can't put that many houses in now, you shouldn't get credit for it because you drew a picture. So I wanted every lot to have at least one perk on it to prove that it worked. And they'd have to anyway, because even if they tried to do a shared system, and I checked on some stuff today, the shared system, even for new construction, which we've never allowed them for new, we've only done repairs, but it still says in Title V, it cannot exceed the design flow which could have been constructed in compliance with 310 CMR 15 without the use of a shared system. So if you don't prove how many of these lots we're gonna park in the first place, you can't prove to us how many houses would have been there in the first place to design a shared system for. So, you know, so you can't get 100 acres and say half of it's not usable now for whatever reason, doesn't park, whatever the reason is, right? So now you'd be down to 50 acres and you get, what, probably 22 houses if you're lucky after you take out road and all that. And stuff on the 20, like probably 22 houses is a safe guess, just for argument's sake. But then, you know, now you come in though, somebody comes in with a pretty picture showing, oh, I can get all these houses and all this land that wouldn't qualify anyway. And now, so now they think they can get 50 houses but that land wasn't gonna be used anyway because it didn't park, it didn't. So I just don't want, and I doubt anyone's gonna vote for something that lets people get more than that's there now. Because that land, if it doesn't park for whatever reason, that's gonna stay open space anyway because they can't build nothing on it. So there's no benefit to the town of taking that land and now giving credit for it so people can put more houses in the small area in the other part where it would park. I mean, to me, the development of these things is, the advantage of these is that if you prove you can get 50 houses, great. Now you can put them on half the size at what, roads are $500 a foot now to put a road in, right? You save hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's where the developer wins. And the town wins because we get that land in the back. But it's not a win if somebody could only get 23 houses now and we pass something so they can put 50 houses on the same piece of land. That's not a win for the town, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, so there's other sections in the bylaw that address that, and that, you know, obviously if it's wetlands, if it's not perkable, if it's ledge, you know, it's not gonna be.
But where does it
it's
say
not
they
gonna
have to
be-
prove that it is parkable?
Yeah, you have to prove. It doesn't mean that you have to perk every single lot. Because, I mean, what you don't want to do is be traipsing through all the open space land with backhoes and everything else. But clearly, if you've delineated the wetlands and you know that half of that backland you can't use, and there's ledge and you know you can't build in there. And then there may be some areas where I know the soils are somewhat questionable. You know, you may require some additional perks in that general area, maybe not every single one of the conventional lots shown, but at least a few to show whether that area can be perked or not. Generally, that's how this is written, and that's how it works in all the other communities that have OSRDs, because, you know, nobody wants to, and none of these are really written to give anybody any bonus lots, you know, unless you do an inclusionary zoning for some affordable units. Generally, they are exactly this. You know, you get what you get conventionally, and you get the same with the OSRD, and you have to be able to prove.
You have how do you prove it though? You say you have to prove it, but how are they going to prove it to us if they don't go out and dig a hole and perk them?
They shouldn't have to perk every single lot. I mean,
Why, we have a rate, you need four perks a lot. And I had said, I didn't care if we waived that down to one, just so we know, because it has to be proven to us that that's the flow they could have gotten by doing a regular subdivision. I don't know how else you can prove that that's the flow of a regular subdivision without parking.
I mean, I did one of these in Middleborough years ago, and you had to prove the conventional.
Yeah.
Well, in other communities I've been in, we've, you know, the soils are fairly consistent in a particular area, and, you know, you can put a perk here and one there. Why do you have to perk
But in this area, the soils are not consistent. You can move 20 feet in Lakeville and find beautiful sand and find solid clay. You can lose the 4 feet of permeable material you have to have. That's a big one. If you don't have 4 feet, that's in Title V. You can't build.
Maybe there's a compromise here where, like, we have that language that we're talking about in there, right? Yeah. But they can come to us and ask and try and get try and prove to us that they don't need to do it. Maybe they ask for a variance to that part of it. But we still have the reg in place we want.
They said they got to prove it to us.
Right.
How can we give a variance to proof?
But if it came in this, and we knew it was like, do we really need to perk this? We all know it's gonna be fine. Like, you know what I mean? It's just saving them some time and some money.
I'm not gonna say the address, but we just did some stuff a year ago. Derek did some perks for me. And we went from beautiful sand and to the door was junk. In those 2 lots, we had to reconfigure stuff. And then we went a couple of more feet and it was beautiful, and a few more feet. Those are all logged and recorded at the town, at the Board of Health. All those perks are recorded. That's how it works here. So when a, whatever it is, 600-foot place, the soils went good, bad, really bad, and then started getting good and bad again. Without going out there, and again, I don't care, you don't gotta dig 4 holes. I think that's unreasonable, but the developer's gonna save a fortune by building half the road, half the drainage, half the utilities, half the everything. Spend a day out there and go dig some holes, a couple of days and go dig some holes. It isn't that big of an expense.
No, I don't see it either.
It's not the expense, it's more, you know, the disturbance of land that you want to keep as open space land, and you really want to be.
Some of the minis now, they're pretty good at just going in and out of the trees, you know, like a lot of guys don't care because they figure they're going to tear it down anyway, so they go with a big machine, but you can actually take a mini through the woods and then just take out the small brush.
Go in there and just do it.
Take out the small brush and keep all the big trees.
Because especially you won't have to do 4 on every lot, so you only have to be able to get to one area on that lot and dig a hole. You won't have to dig up 4 spots all over the lot and make a big mess. So.
Now, I got a question.
You just take down the dead trees, that are going to thin, which is just going to make the forest better anyway.
On your requirement there, you're reading out of Title V. Do we have the authority to say you only need 1 perk for something like this? Because
we have the authority to have an open space bylaw.
And say it's okay to do 1?
Yeah, and there are.
You're supposed to have 2 and 4 holes per Title V, new construction.
Yeah, there's no requirement under the preliminary subdivision control law, you know, under preliminary plans, that the lots perk. I mean, here, because we want to make sure that, because when you go to the next step under just doing a conventional subdivision, you then need to make sure they all perk. But under preliminary subdivision, you don't have to perk every lot, and that's what this initial stage is trying to determine the baseline. You know, how many are you going to get? 20, or are you going to get 50 lots out of that 100 acres? So, so there's no requirement that they all be perked. It's just what does the town feel comfortable with, in order to be able to prove each of those lots. So, you know.
I mean, the planning board can write all the regs they want, and I know they're putting in the effort, and a lot of towns have sewer and stuff, and a lot of these things aren't an issue, but, I mean, I'm reading Title V. It cannot exceed, a shared system cannot exceed the design flow which could have been constructed in compliance with CMR without the shared system. And to know if that lot's buildable, you need to do parks on it. There's no other way. It's impossible to know. So, and I've been doing this long enough to know every time somebody does something, and then we get somebody that wants to put, you know, a warehouse on a golf course because they didn't think through all the worst case scenarios, what could happen. And I'm not going to sit there and pass something and have the people say nobody could build there for 100 years, and now all of a sudden they got 50 houses there. I mean, and you know, and we tried parking that years ago. None of that land parks. I mean, all the big pieces of land in Lakeville are left for a reason, and they're not because somebody just wants to protect them. I mean, probably a couple of people, I know one person actually, but most of them are because you can't build on them. It's just how Lakeville is. If you look at a map and you color in all the areas and all the setbacks from wetlands, I got one that Gene Bartlett did 20 some odd years ago, and he had the whole town shaded back before computers and everything, and it was all colored in by Billy Sylvia, the engineer. And back then there wasn't that much land. And you look at the map now and you start looking for 20-acre pieces around town, there's a reason that none of them are built on, because they just don't park. So,
okay. So I
mean, not only
add,
one person at town meeting, but that's what I get to say about it.
So I can add some language, you know, to do that, to require that they prove that each of the conventional lots
Have a perk on it.
have a perk on it to prove, and, you know, and then we can, Ed can work with them on trying to ensure, or like, you know, that they don't do as, you know, more disturbance than is necessary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a bunch of work in Minnetonka too, and like,
I've done
the soils are,
zoning.
I mean,
I've
kind
done
of similar, different parts of town, and like, I mean, they're bigger than us, but like, it's similar idea. We get some bad spots, they get in some good spots. Their bylaw is probably pretty good because it's been around for a while. It's not an OSRD, I think it's what, is it a residential compound? No. Is it there?
Probably cluster zoning.
Is it cluster? It's a cluster zone. Like, cause Tarragon's one down off of Highland. That's the one we worked on.
Well, like he just said, he just had to go down and perk all the lots to prove them.
Yeah.
That's how it
But that's what I'm
works.
saying. Like, it's a comparable town, soil wise. Maybe looking at what their wording and how they word stuff wouldn't be a bad idea too.
What town?
Middleborough town.
Oh, yeah, no, I've looked at the,
Because I know they require what we're talking about.
And then the next one I had the question on, I mean, I still need to read through this and look further into it, but was on the 30,000 square foot minimum.
yep,
We've had a ruling recently from DEP on 30,000 square, for undersized lots that don't meet nitrogen loading, for new construction. And the question was asked 4 different ways over 4 months, and they were very specific on the answer. You need to meet nitrogen loading for new construction. If there are wells in the surrounding areas. So even if this has public water or a treatment system, if there's a well in the surrounding area, which all of Lakeville has wells in the surrounding area, they have to meet nitrogen loading. So these 30,000 square foot lots are going to be limited to 3-bedroom only.
that's correct.
There won't be any
Yes.
for new construction. Just so you're aware
Right.
with the ruling we had.
If it makes the board feel comfortable, we can add that in, you know, that, 30,000 square feet, you know, equals a 3-bedroom home.
Yeah, you could just put, what do you want to put?
You ever-
You need to meet nitrogen loading of,
Yeah, 10,000 for a bedroom. So then if they want, I've got a bigger lot and they want 4 bedrooms, they can do it.
They can do
So
it.
it's 10,000 square feet per bedroom.
Okay, so I can put that instead of the 30,000, I can put 10,000 per bedroom.
and there's
now.
actually a law from DEP we have, you sent me on a next thing where it reads it, it says,
Yeah, I can just quote the reg and deed.
quote the reg,
Okay.
it's very specific.
Now, do you ever deed restrict, lots when it's required, you know, for
Yeah.
smaller things?
We just had one tonight.
Two-bedroom deed restriction.
Two-bedroom
deed restriction.
Because we, in some of the zoning board approvals, like to do tear downs down at like Clark Shores, for example, we do put it in that they get a deed restricted through the Board of Health. So I just reviewed one today. So, would you like us to write that into the smaller lots here, or is that really not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary, but
Is that
think the
deed
law-
restricted or?
The law itself is controlling that already.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be deed restricted. I just think
No.
on the new construction, if you could write in the nitrogen loading.
Yeah, just
You
that it
must
has to
meet
be
nitrogen
nitrogen
loading.
loading.
Sure.
Even if you have public water or a treatment system, people think you, okay, I don't need to meet.
Right.
But with the DEP ruling,
Okay.
they were
don't
very
get me wrong, I
clear.
mean, all the money this town spent over the years and all these research things and everything, how to stop this, how to do this, and I'd say at every single meeting, and then I stopped going like 6 years ago, and I just said, the only way to do it is the carrot and the stick, okay? If you want people to leave land open, you gotta let them do cluster zones, period. And then that was the first thing, oh, they're gonna get more houses. I said, no, it can be restricted so they don't get any more houses. But now, the developer's gonna save a ton of money by not building all that road and everything, he says, and the town's gonna get all that land. It's a win-win if it's done right. And that's why, because I've said that at 10 meetings over the years and at a few town meetings on the floor. And, you know, I just don't wanna go back on that and say we didn't do it right and this is what happened. But I think it's a great idea because that's the only way you're gonna get people, you know, you're gonna get that land without paying a fortune for it. So, I'm not against it, I just gotta be able to look people in the face, if I say okay.
Yeah, and I'm saying, I'm definitely not against it if somebody wants to do it. I don't know.
I think we all
I
said that
just want to
before.
make sure that it's a,
And like I said before, we just want to make sure like somebody's gonna find some little chink in the armor, right? And then they'll find a way, and then before we can catch it, it's, you know, we've opened that can of worms and then
Well,
you
that's why
can't put it back in.
Bring this back to you. I'm
Yeah.
going to conservation next week. You know, then the planning board's going to review all these edits and make sure they're comfortable with it.
And I think they're on the same board too, I haven't heard anybody against it, as long as it's done right, is kind of what I'm hearing from everybody. It's just nobody wants to all of a sudden say that piece was never buildable and now how they get 50 houses on it, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Which we have heard on other lots. How is that? That was never buildable. How do they build the houses on it? Well, because perks changed. You know, this, the Title 5 changed and the DEP changed their ruling. That's why.
now, we're okay with shared systems, Ed? There's no issues on that, what he read and.
Yeah, I mean, the shared system would have to be by Title V, and there are restrictions on shared system, which, you know, you kind of just mentioned there. You know, you have to have, you don't get a bonus, like you said. You know, if you can get 10 regular lots, well, then you can get 10 lots and have a shared system, but you don't get a bonus.
Ideally, it would be better though if they had their own, because like, and that would be a question for town council when you ask them, on a condo complex, when, like, somebody has a shared system, on a condo complex, people pay their condo fees, and those are considered super liens on the property. So if the people stop paying their condo fee, it supersedes even the mortgages on a condo. And the banks start paying them. If you don't, a buddy of mine managed condos, and if, you know, you gotta notify them within 3 months they're not paying them, the bank starts paying them because they don't wanna lose the property because somebody didn't pay a condo fee, where it didn't used to be like that, and that's why all the condos went out of, in the 80s, everything crashed and all the condos burnt up. So on a shared system, I would just want to find out if there's some language we could add so that same thing doesn't happen. Some road and half the people stop paying, and now what are we gonna do? Because it's kind of like what we're running into down there with the water. You know, half the people don't hook up or pay, and now, you know, some of the people are getting stuck. And I don't know if you can make it a super lien or not. That's why I said maybe, unless you know, but I'd probably have to ask council, but I'd like to have that added in there if they're gonna have a common septic system.
Well, wouldn't the cost of the maintaining the common septic system be just part of the regular homeowners association fee? So wouldn't it automatically be part of the super lien?
Well, it should be, but But a super lien's only for a condo fee. I don't think it's for an association fee. That's what I said I wanted to find out. I'm not sure the legality of that.
Right.
As far as I know, only condos turn into a super lien. But maybe we can put the wording in there that all the people who buy the houses, it goes into their deed.
Oh, so you're saying there may be a distinction between a condo association and a homeowners association from the ability to
do that, yes.
To a super lien, okay.
Yeah. I don't always make my point the best, but.
Yep, no, I got it. Condo versus homeowners association.
And they do too. They pay, the banks just start paying right away.
Speaking of shared systems too, I mean, we want to push for like individual tanks too, to make sure that the life of the septic system can be longer too. I mean, you'll know who's making the problems if there's.
Well, it's.
Or individual D boxes, I don't know.
Like Cinnamon Ridge in Middleborough has individual tanks, I believe, and then it flows out. Sometimes they float a big, huge tanks.
Yeah.
But as long as they have the ability though, under the fee, that the fee that everyone pays to pump all the individual tanks too.
Yeah.
Or else you could do the same thing. You get one guy that just stops pumping his tank and now he's sending everything down there and ruining the field on everybody else.
All right. But that's one way of keeping track of who's doing what too sometimes.
Oh yeah, if a guy comes, if the association pays somebody to go once a year and pump 20 houses, and they know these two have got everything under the sun in them, you know.
Can your board adopt rules and regs pertaining to shared systems beyond the Title V requirements? You know, to require, if a shared system is proposed, that individual houses or condos, you know, like if they're townhouses, have in the front yard, you could probably do it through an easement to the association so that they can get on the property, just saying that they must be located within a certain distance from the front property line and an easement, and have the homeowners association pump them all on an annual basis or something.
We can pass a reg to make stuff stricter after we go through a public hearing and all that. And if that was necessary, if it couldn't automatically become a super lien through the associations like a condo, then we'd have to talk about that, because the only ones, unless I'm wrong, you guys can tell me, we've never approved them for new construction, only for two houses, say, and both their septics are one of the shoreline communities, and they do a shared system, and there is some paperwork that DEP has that they both have to fill out, but it doesn't go that deep. And then if we pass something for shared systems, you know, I don't know if we could go back and stop making, but I wouldn't want it either, because all those people, you know, they're watching it because there's only two people. So that'd be a whole nother discussion we'd have to have.
Yeah, I think that one you were talking about was right on the property line.
Yeah.
It's separate tanks.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was two separate fields just next to each other, more than a shared system.
Yeah.
And that was a repair.
Yeah. Again,
there was easements involved with that, and
we've never done one for new construction yet, I don't think. Because if you can meet all the stuff, if the lot can't be smaller, why wouldn't you want your own septic system? So if you have to prove it anyway, well, you know, that's probably why nobody on new construction ever comes to us. So they don't have the setback requirements for 70,000 square feet. Yeah, see, that's back in the day, actually, and it was a long time ago, but that's when they went to 70,000 square feet, because they started having problems. And I'm sure a lot of people have better things to do than watch our meetings, but almost everything we do now is on the smaller lots and have to give the variances. You know, like that's all we do at our meetings, is septic systems and upgrades and stuff. And the bigger lots hardly ever come in because they already had a reserve, they already got a place, they can make everything work, so. All right, that's all I get to say.
Yeah, I still want to read through. I would maybe like to continue this to our next meeting also, just so we can read through more and if we have anything more.
Yeah.
Just because I was just handed this now, and just before, if we have anything else to send them, I don't want to do it after the fact.
Yeah.
You need to come back and I'll.
So I'll make some more additional revisions. I'll review them with Ed, and then I'll send them out to your board. When,
Yeah.
do you know, when your next?
You still
meeting?
gotta go before
I have to go
Concom.
to Concom for the.
This week or next?
Conservation, yeah, on Tuesday.
Tuesday, next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Ours is 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, 16.
Okay, I can make.
And we already have something on the agenda, so.
Is town
Definitely.
meeting, like, are you working back from town meeting date or something now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, if, there's still an abundance of concerns and it doesn't make the deadline, it doesn't make the deadline, but, given.
Because if we agree and get down to crossing Ts and dotting Is, I wouldn't mind having a special meeting just to, if we need to get it in on time.
Okay.
If everyone's comfortable with it, I would say fine.
And they
have
look
it.
at November again for a special time?
Yes, yeah.
So
But the
the
select-
deadline's what?
August 31st, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, they're closing. the
Seems
warrant
kinda early.
A little early, yeah.
Okay.
But,
Well, we have at least one more meeting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we only have one more.
One more,
First, yeah.
16th, so we don't.
but I
So,
can
yes.
work on these changes and get them out to you, and then if I get any feedback from Concom, I can make those changes. The planning board can review, you know, has time to review the documents, and so that,
And I mean-
because we already went through all this last year, we're, you know, like 85–90% there, so it's just, like you say.
And Ed knows, he's on top of this. He knows exactly everything we talked about. If there's any questions, if you talk to him, I bet you guys can hammer it right out to get it ready to be a vote probably.
And if you read it and have any comments, just.
Prior to.
email me, I'll send it to me and we'll work it out.
Yeah, I'll try, if I have any comments, I'll try to get them to you like before this weekend.
Yeah.
If I come up with anything, reading through this a couple more times.
And
I'm good.
and check Meadowborough too, please.
Okay.
Because I'm big on reinventing the wheel sometimes, right? Why reinvent it when somebody else already figured it out?
Any other comments or questions?
No, that's pretty much the additional changes related to Board of Health. And you mentioned one of the changes related to Concom was putting a minimum lot size because they don't want 2 or 3 acre little pieces of open space.
Yeah.
The only exception of the 20 acres would be as if the open space abuts like some other protected land, and that group that owns that land, whether it's the town or the state, would like to acquire that and add it on to their space. That's the only exception. And then we put in some, we already had language about restricting the open space land from being changed, but there's a statute, Article 97, so we added that reference, which what that does is it makes it even harder to change the use because it requires the state legislature to approve the change. So, so it kind of takes, you know, removes any option of the land being used for anything else. So.
Probably the safest though is like Wildland Trust or somebody like that. Like
Do a
they
conservation
put those
restriction. and
conservation
then-
restrictions on them.
Probably so.
Then nobody can, no one's ever gonna sign off. Then they control it and they're never gonna sign off.
Well, and encourage, and the conservation restrictions, you're encouraged by the benefits of it too, and your score is higher, especially if you're abutting existing conservation land already, and it's incentivized for people to encourage people to do stuff like this too. So, yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, I'll make a motion. We continue this to our next meeting
August 16th.
on the 16th.
Second?
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Mark.
All right,
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 11 Apple House Road. Continued discussion from July 19th regarding a complaint from a resident regarding a sewage pumping company.
Did anybody call in?
Yeah, we haven't had any, anyone call in saying it happened to them as well.
Right, so with no other complaints like that, and I can't think, there was nothing else in their folder, correct? You know, anything related to this company in the last year or so, or
No.
recent? There's nothing in the folder. So I would just recommend maybe we send a letter to them and put a letter with their file, like for their permit file, that, you know, hey, like a warning type letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this happened and it's not allowed.
Yeah, this happened on this date.
Requirements. and it's in the folder.
It's not allowed, and if it happens again, you're putting your permit, your license at jeopardy, if it happens again.
Yeah.
You agree, Ed?
I'll make a motion, we send that letter.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda is continued discussion from July 19th regarding changes to Lakeville Board of Health regulations pertaining to subsurface disposal systems and water.
Wasn't what this was, they were here for?
I don't think so.
Oh,
They had another meeting at 7, and that's why they had to go to that. I didn't know that, but whatever.
isn't that what this was about how far is too far and all that down there? Right?
This is the changes to,
This is for,
doing the
nitrogen.
nitrogen loading that we've been talking about, changing
the nitrogen
local
stuff we've
reg.
been talking about.
Having like a
And Ed's
D-night.
got a bunch of stuff he looked up.
Right, and if we should do it or how we could do it, if, we did discuss this at the last meeting, you weren't here.
Trying to stay ahead of what's coming, potentially, you know?
We
Think
asked-
about,
All right, I'm just,
it
maybe I
does
missed
pertain
it.
to some stuff down there.
Yeah, well, no, not that specifically. I thought after that other meeting, when there was a question, how far was too far to have somebody, and like we were gonna discuss how, like if the water's within so many feet of the house, you either have to or you don't have to. I thought that was part of this.
How many
part.
wells?
Do you want that, do
Three
you want
triggers?
that in
Should
the
we go to
regulations,
one
or
and
you
have it
just want
approved?
that as like an unwritten rule that, okay, if it's this distance, I mean, you can discuss that now, obviously, but whether you choose to put it in the regulations is not, but I think the previous thing, we're actually gonna, adjust the regulations, and we can add that too, I mean,
Okay. I just like people to know, you know what I mean? Some guy comes in, how come? Like those people tonight, everybody knows a story down there, so how come? Well, you were 120 feet. They were only 80 feet, that's why they had it, and you didn't have to. Whatever number we picked for too far, I just want it to be known. Whether we change a reg or we just, whatever we gotta do.
Yeah, that's why it's a very tough decision too. We talked last week, we had Darren Kalis from Foresight talk to us on what he was thinking, just for,
Okay.
see how engineers feel. But it's a big cost to put this on our local regs, where it's not mandated by Title V.
Yeah.
New construction it is, but not on a repair. So we put it out last week. If anybody had comments, please come in.
Okay.
I don't see anybody coming in, but, you know, it's like a $10,000 addition to your septic repair
Yeah.
to put a D-night system in. So it's a big cost. I've had a few people come up to me, didn't want to be, come into the meeting or anything that are not, said, you know, why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. It's not a reg. And to put a local reg in that's costing $10,000 when it's not made by DEP, it's a good point. So I just want to,
the reason we're doing this is for people's health.
Right, and safety.
There are regions of Lakeville where the water is seriously contaminated. And, yes, it's a cost to the homeowner, but cancer treatment is a cost to homeowners. You know, birth defects are cost to homeowners. These are real costs that can really happen. I mean, this is not imaginary or whatever. Nitrates are bad. They are very bad for pregnant women, and they cause cancer in other people as well. And if you drink them, like, it's not drinking it once or twice, but you drink them over a lifetime, they will harm you. That's pretty clear and established medically, you know. And, you know, the reason DEP has those full 40 gallons per day is to prevent simply that, you know. And the fact that, you know, this was done, and like I said, we've all talked about this plenty of times, you know, now we have 70,000 square foot lots, but there are 5,000 square foot lots where, you know, it's for a lot today, you would have 14 septic systems and 14 private wells on one lot today. That's how bad it is. And we can ignore that and just grandfather it and say, okay, well, this is what you had, we'll just keep doing it. And it'll never solve the problem.
But on a repair, aren't we supposed to do it to the maximum, what's that phrase we use?
Feasible.
Maximal feasible compliance, right, or something like that? like if we're supposed to only waive what we absolutely have to get as close to the current regs as you can.
Right.
And that's kind of where this would fall under.
Well, this discussion.
Maximum feasible compliance.
And that's what it's doing. So if you have a 5 or 10,000 square foot lot, you're trying to get to that 440 gallon per day.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, obviously we're not going to tear down half your house and say, okay, now you have 1 bedroom, but putting a denitrification system so you're giving the equivalent of a 1 bedroom is the closest I would say you can get to it without actually.
And there's some places where maximum feasible compliance is kind of scary. Some of the places we've had to go through. I think this conversation's been great though too. Like when Darren was here last week, we talked about alternative systems and other stuff, and I'm like, if other people have stuff that come in, they're like, hey, I know somebody that did a drip system and it's been fantastic, or I know somebody that tried this new system. Because yeah, the cost is a big thing, but there's things out there that are cheaper than just a D-night with a bottomless sand filter at $60,000. Yeah. So it would be interesting to hear other people and hear other engineers like, oh, I put one of these in over here and they love it, you know, like, so then maybe it encourages other people, and it won't be one of those things, well, you can't do that, it's because of the cost, but well, there is alternatives that it's not terrible, right? I'd feel more comfortable making a new reg, knowing that there's something that's comparable to a conventional system, cost-wise, but does more treatment.
Or close. Even if it's close. Yeah, 60 grand, I wouldn't make anybody do that. I mean, unless it was a transfer and even that, if it's some of the houses we're talking about, that's, you know, whatever the price of the house.
They say, I mean, I don't know how much data is out there, but like the bottomless sand filters with a D-night, $60,000, but the system's lasting 60 years, right? And a conventional system fails 3 times that time, you spend 60 grand.
Yeah.
Roughly.
But we don't lend people the money for
65.
60,000 for 60 years. We lend it to them for.
It only makes sense if you get into someone early on, right? And they're gonna live there for maybe 60 years.
But even like you say, 60,000 is one of the most expensive systems. Yeah. But like I said, for an extra 10,000 on some of them, like a fast system, yes, I agree, it is a lot of money and stuff like that, but a lot of times you can shrink the field, like 50% or drop it to 2 feet. So you don't save 10, but you probably save 5, you know? So if you're saving $5,000, you know, is an extra $5,000. And like I said, for a lot of people, it's tough. I completely agree with that. But, you know, when you look at the cost of what it's doing to neighborhoods, and like, this is why the state is throwing literally billions of dollars into the Cape now, because they ignored the problem for so long, and now they're trying to rectify it. The longer you ignore it, the more difficult it gets to rectify, you know? So, you know, I think we have the opportunity, and like I said, right now, people who are selling their house, most of them are selling it at a considerable profit than what they bought it for. So to put an extra 5,000, yeah, I agree to do that to everyone. When what the state tried to do was say, okay, after 5 years, everyone has to upgrade. That I wouldn't be for that, and that would be very tough on a lot of people and stuff like that.
No, just a transfer.
But like I said, when you're selling a home, most people are making a pretty good profit, and if 5,000 of that went to make it so their neighbors drank cleaner water, I would be all for that. I think that's it's a great way of parting ways, saying, okay, I'm leaving the community, but you know what? I'm going to make it safer. I'm going to make it better for everyone.
I mean, it's the whole reason though that they don't make you change the system at all until a transfer, right? So, I mean, you know, the state picked a starting point, and well, like you said, they were trying to make everybody do it in 5 years. That's never going to happen. If it happens, I'm going to move my excavator down the Cape somewhere and just be done. But but yeah, that's the time. When I transfer, that's when you do it. That's when you have the money. I mean, if it's in failure, I mean, you know, bad enough that it's backing up. But, you know, honestly, that was a good point you made a little while ago when you think about it. I mean, you know, that's why we added the arsenic to our regs back in the flood. That was one of the first things I was here for. And, you know, all of a sudden people, you know, they had the water overtopped the well. They had to get it tested before they could, you know, get the red stickers taken off. I came in like 2 weeks after the flood. I got sworn in, and and we were going around, but a lot of people just started saying, I just want to test for everything while I'm doing it, on their own. They just spent a couple $100 and tested for the whole thing. And we have all these things coming back with arsenic, all these well tests, and we were like, holy, nobody ever knew about it. And then, of course, DEP won't answer a question or anything about it, but, then I found out that arsenic is worse going through your skin, like taking a bath in it, than it is drinking it. Because, and who takes baths? Babies and little kids sit in the tub for an hour, right? And that's when I said, people were mad, oh, you added $60 on our test. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have you pester me for $60 than have a mother come to me and say, you guys knew this was in Lakeville and we did a test that you told us we had to do, and now my kid got cancer or something. So, I mean, as much as we try to help the people.
Same with the gross alpha, we're the only state, not town in the state, right, that requires it under construction.
But like what you said with arsenic, it's at least $2,000 to get a reverse osmosis for that. And then, like I said, you have to maintain it. So that you're probably looking at over the lifetime, that's close to $5,000. So again, but well worth it, a lot cheaper than cancer treatment.
But at least with those though, like to me, because like we can't follow up and see if they're having them all, the cartridges recharge and stuff every year, but at least doing that test and putting it on the deed, somebody buys the house, they know. So maybe they get bottled water and they take quick showers and they want to risk it. But I just wanted them to know, you know what I mean? I know we tell them on a new construction, they have to address it, but everybody else, I just wanted them to know, you know what I mean? I wanted that $60 test and and now if you're going to leave your kid sitting in it for, 2 hours a night playing in the bathtub, you can't come to me and say, you didn't tell me, your test didn't. I got a Lakeville, the test required by Lakeville, and it said the water was fine.
This reminds me too, has there been any traction on the new bill for the for the private well testing law?
What do you mean?
There's the bill going through the House.
Oh, yeah.
About private well testing.
Those people can
refat.
Yeah, they're trying to get, so that there would be a state a state mandated thing. Now, Lakeville already has ours, so it's not going to affect us probably.
Well, I didn't know if I didn't ever looked at the language to see if it was going to be more or anything different from what we have already.
Well, part of the reason is some towns have no regulations at all for well testing, and that's basically what they're trying to protect those towns. And whereas, like I said, Lakeville has already put those into effect, so it's less of a...
I think if more people saw what was in what was in their wells, just that small batch of testing that RECAP did. I mean, there was people out there that were like, what? And there's people that watched those meetings, heard what was going on. They've gone voluntarily to test their own wells more regularly because they're hearing stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And they hear the words, you hear a kid and cancer in the same sentence. That makes people jump, and we don't want to cost people money, but we would definitely want to make sure people are protected. Even if it's a small amount for more protection, it's definitely worth conversations.
I mean, the only positive part is if they ever started trying to bring that Cape thing up here, is that they're giving the towns, it's not just make everybody put in a new septic. Like a lot of towns, down in Chatham, they're just expanding their sewer to get rid of. And the state gave them money to expand the sewer down there and stuff.
There's two options. The town can opt in for a watershed management program of the TMDL, and then there's also that RME, which is a regional municipality, where you pay a quarterly fee, almost like you were on sewer, but they just take care of your septic. But the watershed thing is if you got one part of town it's sewer, you got a bunch of people over here that have got advanced treatment, you got another part of town that conventional's enough. Yeah. They're good because they're not near any buffers and whatever.
No, but I bet the state would kick in money to put a treatment plant down there and because that's what really needs to happen.
So in that RME, right, that regional municipality thing is, that region that's gaining traction is if they're able to do that, enough towns opt in and they have that money come in, that attracts most of the state and federal money goes to sewer. Yeah. But if you get these types of municipalities that's similar to that, but it's not sewer, but it'll do the same thing, that federal and state money will come to them too, and it'll help keep that cost down too.
Oh yeah, because if we could put a treatment plant down there.
And they are, in the new state bill, it used to be $6,000, which was $1,500 a year for 4 years, the tax rebate. Because septics are more expensive, because of they're requiring D-nights free, they're actually upping that, and it hasn't passed yet, but it could go as high as, rather than 6,000, it could be as high as 18,000. That would be a huge, and like I said, it's kind of geared towards 18-night systems, because, it was originally supposed to be 40% of a septic, but, and the septics, got more and more expensive, but their number never did. So now they're trying to change that. Like I said, it hasn't passed yet. That would be a big help for these people who are putting denitrification systems on. Okay, maybe an extra $5,000, but if you're getting back 18,000 now, that's a big help.
That would be huge if you're just going to do the new tanks with the wood chips and the limestone. It's about between 15 and 19, I think, to install one of those with all the
smaller ones are about 15.
Yeah, with all the components that go along with it. So
now I have a question. I know you've sent us a bunch of different ways to write this reg and address different areas of it. One of the engineers brought up to me on the watershed area, suggested maybe we should just put the D-Night in the watershed of the mapped area from DEP of Lakeville, which is about 80% of the town, it looked like, guessing on the map, except for maybe for the high school. I think it was outside that watershed area. Would that be a possibility? So you don't do the whole, or we're just looking to, everybody wants the entire?
It depends what you guys are looking to do. Are you looking to protect the ponds, or are you looking to protect the wells? My biggest concern is private wells. That's what people are drinking. I'm all for protecting ponds, but I put a much, much higher priority on protecting private wells. And that's why it's more about the 440 gallon per day that we had talked about in our previous meetings. For myself, like I said, that would be my first priority. I'm not against protecting ponds and wetlands and things like that, if you guys want to do that. But when you're talking watersheds, it's protecting ponds and wetlands and tributaries.
You said that's why DEP is doing down the Cape right now, right? It's the watershed area.
Right,
and they're making it mandatory.
Right.
So, but outside the watershed area, we have the authority to make it. And
yeah, there are a lot of towns. A lot of these towns, they had 400-foot. I think it was like some of them were like, which is the one, Wareham, that they said, within 500 feet of a surface water, you would have to do a D-Night. Any type of surface water, that's a wetland, a tributary, anything, even if it's not a reservoir, just, of a small pond. And again, those regs are more to protect the environment, which it's a good thing. But like I said, for us in Lakeville, my highest priority is protecting private wells that are now already contaminated with nitrates. And like I said, and they're going to get worse because the areas where it's happening, there are more houses being built, more abandoned houses being flipped. And so it's just, you're getting more and more nitrates, more and more going from seasonal to full time. So above ground, it looks great. You're fixing up these houses. Below ground, it's getting a lot worse. And that's why I think there's an imperative to
I think, we're fortunate in town, though, that all the neighborhoods that we're probably thinking about like this, not just the shores, there's also Clark Shores, there's other pond neighborhoods too. And there's even some near the river that we address that thing, and it's going to take care of the other stuff also. So it's
a lot of it will.
The secondary benefit is the ponds.
Yeah, but like I said, a lot of lots in Lakeville, the 70,000 square foot lots that are not near wetlands or anything like that, I have no issue with it all. They're not really a threat to anyone or anything like that. They may be in that watershed that you're doing, but to me, there's really no health risk there. Like I said, it will protect the ponds in the long run, and I think it's a good thing, but
and should we continue more talking about this to our next meeting?
Yeah, and maybe for the next meeting, if we can kind of start to come up with an idea each about how we want the reg, because he's presented, there's probably 4 or 5 ideas.
Yeah.
At least we can talk about.
I just got other towns' regs, so I didn't really pick and choose. It's just you guys mentioned, I think you mentioned Wareham and things like that. So I just got them and said what they had. I'm not saying they're the right thing for Lakeville, but that's what's out there.
Right. Do we want to hear from any more engineers, or
I would
a letter, or
if anyone was here? I mean, I just
should we just wait for people here, or do we want to send a letter out to and anyone in the area? Like, hey, you got any ideas? You know, this is what we're talking about, if you want to come in, and do we, it's just an idea.
If we do and then we miss some people, I don't wanna.
Okay.
I don't wanna say, why
I
you
get
send
you.
it to me, you thought I would be a.
I didn't think of that, that's true.
Get a dozen years and you'll think of all the worst stuff that can happen to you sitting in this chair.
And also on it, I'm pretty sure, I think we all agree that there will be a spot in that you can come to the board and ask for a variance on it. It's not gonna be,
Yeah.
it's a reg, but
Yeah.
That's right, I like the
I think there are
idea of-
exceptions to every
it could be,
case.
we don't wanna
They're
make,
proving.
if there's an exception, there's no houses around you for, surrounded by conservation land. This,
Yeah, like say, it's just
we're
a
not gonna make
wetland behind you and
them
there's no private wells. in
do it
that
if you
area.
can come to a board and prove that
Yeah.
this reg,
Well, that's what I was, like,
Right,
I've been leaning
so-
towards that language of like, oh, if you can prove, then fine. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of how we have it now with our, the reg now. It's like,
Right.
if you want to prove that you don't, you know, give us this amount of information, give us the wells in the area, show where the groundwater is flowing, things like that, you know.
All right, I'll make a motion, we continue this to our next meeting.
second?
Any more discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you have anything, make it quick.
All right, last on the agenda is discuss recent Board of Health agent pending items.
I don't have any pending items.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.